Hey there, doll lifers! In this video, I will create a fire pit for the dolls. If that's something you're interested in, stick around. I'm CJ and the doll collector. Welcome to my channel, The Doll Life. In this video, I'll be working on an outdoor scene along with the fire pit. Just a quick heads up, during this project, I was working on other projects at the same time, and it all took place over the span of a few days. Also, I was managing things outside of YouTube. This video may feel a little scattered, but I'm hoping it will all come together nicely in the end and it'll make sense and still give you some inspiration for your own projects. It works out, so let's see what we get. First, I start with 5 pieces of foam board, and I'm using scrap foam board here. Excluding the 12 by 2 inch piece, I take the other 4 pieces and wrap them in this peel and stick wallpaper from Dollar Tree. The wallpaper sheet was not wide enough, so I used a couple of pieces and made sure that the patterns lined up. Next, I take the base, which is the uncovered 12 by 2 inch piece. I glue all of the covered pieces to it, creating this rectangular shaped box. Here I have some greenery that I purchased from Dollar Tree, and I cut off the stem. My plans were to stand these up in the box, but I eventually decided to separate each piece and glue them individually inside of the box. I also added other greenery that I found in my supplies. Next, I'll take this brown paper from packaging and line the bottom of the box with it. Next, I fill in the bottom of the box with this Spanish moss. I use this newer Spanish moss to continue filling it in. I add a variety of greenery and plants to help fill in the box and add pops of color. To create the fire pit, I will use this cardboard cylinder from the QT Reveal packaging, and for seating, I'll use chairs from this outdoor furniture playset. I use a seated doll to decide on the height of the fire pit, and I measure it right around 3 inches. After cutting the cylinder, I decide to use these flickering tea light candles along with these acrylic pumpkins and red acrylic gems to help in creating the illusion of a fire. I really didn't like the first look of the fire with the tea light candles and pumpkins and the red gems, so I tried a different option. I actually found a string of orange lights, so I lined those up at the bottom of the cylinder, added the tea light candles, and used only the red gems. Next, I take these decorative stones, wash them, and allow them to air dry. I search through and find the ones on the smaller size that also have a flat side. I glue on stones individually using hot glue until the entire cylinder is completely covered. Next, I use this all-purpose caulk to fill in the spaces, acting as a type of grout. This is my first time using caulk, so I followed the directions. It was truly a learning experience. It said to fill it in and then spread it. After spreading it, use a wet cloth to clean it up a little, and that's what I did. I ended up losing a few stones along the way. Here I'm using a piece of styrofoam and different color paint. This will act as the base of the fire pit. I sort of wanted it to have a stone type look to it, so that's why I'm dabbing different shades of paint to it. The grout appeared really bright to me, so I decided to add color to it to kind of warm it up some. Here I'm using clear plastic from packaging and I'm cutting out a circle. I plan on using this circle as a lid to the fire pit to help with the illusion of the fire. While I was testing the size of the clear plastic, I decided that the inside of the fire pit appeared to be too bright as well. So I mixed up a shade of gray using black paint along with white paints, and I painted the inside of the fire pit. After everything has dried, I'm just really looking at the fire pit and decided that I really didn't like it. I think I made it too tall and it probably should have only been 2 inches. So after looking at everything, I decided to go ahead and scrap this fire pit and just start over from the beginning. This, I measured out, but this time only 2 inches in height. After cutting the cylinder, I decided instead of gluing on the stones, I will create my own. So I draw on an outline of stones. Using my hot glue gun, I fill in the stone outlines with hot glue. Next, I prepare to paint the base of the fire pit using black paint mixed with white paint, creating a shade of gray. I then add some baking soda to the paint, creating a type of texture. I apply a layer of gray textured paint to the fire pit. Once that has dried, I apply color to the faux stones. I use the circular styrofoam to help trace out what will be the top rim of the fire pit. I then use this marker holder cup to trace the inner circle of the rim. I cut the inner circle out and make 2 layers, glue those 2 together. Next, I decided that I didn't do such a great job at painting the stones, so I'm using a marker to clean up the outlining of the stones. After using the marker, I decided to add a layer of Mod Podge to help seal in everything. But you'll see here that the marker was sort of bleeding through and the color was changing. I only did this little area here and decided that I didn't want to continue with that process. I take plain white printer paper, cut thin strips. I use those strips to cover the inner and outer edge of the top rim of the fire pit. Next, I mix paint to create gray. I then apply a layer of paint covering the cardboard and printer paper. I use the same paint to apply a layer of paint inside of the fire pit. Again, I found it to be too bright, so I wanted to darken it up some. Once that layer of paint dries, I go in and dab on a layer of black paint. I take the cutout from the inner circle of the top rim and glue it to the bottom of the fire pit. I'm hoping that this will block any light that's trying to seep through. This is the outer layer of gift tissue paper. What I'm doing is tearing little strips and crumbling them up. Then I roll them between my fingers. Then glue on the clear plastic that I cut. I glue that onto the rim of the fire pit. Here I'm testing out the fire lighting situation. I did find a string of fairy lights in my supplies, so what I decided to do is tape the fairy lights on the inner wall of the fire pit. Next, I will put in the tea light candles. Top those with the remainder of the fairy lights. I also found these clear gems that I'm going to put in so that the red gems and pumpkins won't sink down to the bottom. This is what our fire is looking like now, and I think it looks pretty good. I take this tacky glue and use a paintbrush to apply a thin layer to the clear plastic that is on the rim of the fire pit. And I should have actually applied a really heavy, thick layer because I'm using that to hold on the little rolled up balls that I created. And I found that in the next step, there were some loose ones. Next, I tapped off the extremely loose ones, which left me with a very light coverage. I I had twigs left over from a previous project and thought that it would go nice with this one as well. I selected a few in a size that I thought would work for this project. I've never stacked wood before for a campfire, so I was just testing the placement. Before hot gluing the twigs together, I decided to add a little singe to the twigs. This one was actually burning. Luckily, I had water nearby. Don't do like me. Now it's time to add color to our little balled up papers. First, I go in with gray. Once that's dried, I dab on black. I allow the paint to dry between each layer. Black paint is followed by red and then a few dabs of orange. Next, I work on placement of the twigs. Once I decide on the placement, I add hot glue and glue them to each other. I don't glue them onto the top of the fire pit. I only glue the twigs to each other so that the twigs can be removed as one unit. Here I apply tacky glue to the twigs in preparation for the next step, which is applying some shaved chalk pastels to give the appearance of ash. Next, I want to test out the fire pit with the fire lights, the top and twig. I dimmed the lights to get a better look at the fire pit, and I have to say that I really do like it. The fire lights is really giving the illusion of a real fire, in my opinion. Thank you so much for spending time with me on today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and becoming a part of our Doll Life community. If you're already a Doll Lifer, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your support. Feel free to share this video with your friends and family. Drop a comment down below. What are your thoughts on this project? Will you give it a try? If you do, please consider tagging me at the Doll Life Official. I'd love to see your creations, whether you're a seasoned crafter or just getting started. Don't forget to come back on Monday for another episode of Mini Monday. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!